Well, welcome back to exterior photography. We're definitely outside here. We're close to the lakeside. You can see hazy skies, reasonably calm weather, and beautiful setting here, beautiful setting. So I want to take you through my photo shoot, a few landscapes or seascapes here, and how I do it. So basically I have two cameras here and two tripods. I'm going to set them up in a minute, and then I'm going to take two different kind of images with it and guide you through what you possibly can do to make gorgeous images. So have a look. I'm setting up a couple of things here. So with this one I have a 300mm, a zoom, 150, 300mm, so I can get closer to spots that I want if I see a boat or something. And the other one, the Canon, I'm using more for a broad landscape. Later on I will do also an HDR shot. That means it's compressed several shots together, compressed in one, which give a higher quality image, also more pixels if you like pixels. And I will do a panorama shot too, and you can also do a HDR panorama shot. So we have three different things. On this camera I have just one setting, I can push it, and it does an HDR. And what it means, it may take 3 or 5 photos in different lights settings. So -2, -1, 0, +1, +2, and then puts them all together. That's the HDR. So you get instead of a 20 megapixel file, you get like almost 50 megapixel file, because you compress all the 4, 5 images together. And in your setting, which is too elaborate to go through, maybe we do it one day as a special setting, because all cameras are a little bit different. You can configure your settings to only 3 shots for HD, 5 and even 7. But you can also do it manually. But that's even it's a long setting. So I will try to set up this camera probably on the rocks. So I have a little bit of a view on that side too. So you got to make sure that you have a good balance here, that you make sure that you don't step back and forget that you're on the rocks. And it's got to be in a kind of level position. So the first thing that I see here is a view of Georgian Bay, and there are actually ski hills. So today is especially a hazy day, which gives a very beautiful depth into the photo. If you have the water here and you have the mountains in the back, the escarpment is called. So I'm going to see if I can get a good shot of that. I make sure that I stand at least on 2 feet here, don't do any crazy things. And of course, make sure you take off this little thing, put it in your pocket, close your pockets, because everything that falls down here you will never see back again. And make sure you have a good level camera. And you know it's all electronica, so I can see in my screen right here, I have a green line here and green line there, and I can see that it's beautifully set in the middle, so I can close it down. Okay, I'm gonna look through my own lens. I'm going to put my camera on manual again, because it's what I like. So what I see, zoomed out, are waves, some docks and the far landscape in the back. Because the waves are moving, I gotta make sure that my shutter speed is at least above 125, but maybe 250 or higher, so you don't have any strange kind of movements in your clouds. Although you can play with that too, but I will talk about that in a minute. So here we go. Gotta make sure I have a nice, that the background is sharp, that's for sure. And the composition. So my f-stop is on f22 because I want to have all the sharpness as much in the whole image. So here we go. Have a good look. All right, perfect. I have beautiful sunlight coming from there into the waves, so that it's all twinkling. Very nice. I'm gonna move the camera a bit. There we go. Gorgeous. A bit more landscape too. All right, and I slightly underexpose. I'm sure that everything is there. All right. So I'm going to leave this camera for the moment alone, and we're going to walk over there, just playing with the tools here. All right. So first, because that's what I always try to do, is when I come somewhere, I don't focus only on the parts over there. I think it's a beautiful surrounding. Hey, let's step back a little bit and see what we got. And what do I see? Actually, it's beautiful. I don't know if you can show, Tom, but you see, you have the grass, you have the rocks, and then the trees and the far distance. So it's quite a few. So I'm gonna enjoy that first. I'm gonna zoom out with this camera. Whoops, there we go. I'm gonna focus on the tree first. And there we go. And you know, an image like this, you can do it in color. There are not specific bright colors. In the previous lecture, we had a garden full of colors. That was really the main subject. Here we have kind of contrasts and gray tones. The contrasts are formed here by the rocks, so if you would transform this image, I will show it, into a black and white later on, it will come out probably perfect because you have the contrast-rich trees here and then the light haziness of the background. Love it, absolutely love it. Let me stand a little bit here. So I have two trees. I'm gonna make sure I'm good here. All right. A few more shots. I see a little boat in the background. All right, and just looking at my exposure is good. I got a 250 f13. Oops. Great, awesome. So what I also can do is I go a little closer. I gotta say, I gotta watch my camera. If the wind picks up, I'm gonna take it away. Now it's still very solid and strong, but you gotta keep your eyes and ears everywhere. I'm taking another composition, and this time I'm using the tree kind of in the right side of the composition and the rocks in the bottom, so you have kind of an L shape. It's not a law of photography, it's just how do you find balance in each shot, and in this case I think it's going to look great. And again, these rocks are amazing for a black and white session. Absolutely amazing. Totally love it. So now my image has grass a little bit. It has a little rock down there. It has this formation, and then it has a next layer. So you have basically you have all kind of layers of structure layers. You have grass is a structure, rocks. This is a layer, that, and then you have even very diffuse and fine background layer. So that gives depth, right? So what I can do is, for example, I just take it off my tripod here for a second, and I do a quick one out of the hand, and I zoom in a bit. I zoom in on the tree. There we go. Just playing around with it. And now I focus back on the sea again. Now everything is sharp on the sea, which is a lake, by the way, but it's so big that I feel it's a sea. There we go. And maybe a wide angle. And another wide angle here. All right, that's great. Make sure, check before you leave your post here. Is it sharp, or is it a good light composition? Not overexposed? No, it's good. All right, good. So I'm going to tell another trick here, and if Tom can move a little closer, I'm going to stand right here. And this is the most easy way, but you need your post-processing software for this, because you're not in the dark room anymore, so you have to do it. So I'm going to make a photo the most easiest way of a panorama. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a photo from the left angle of the panorama, but I keep in mind that I know where the right on the end of the photo is. So I move my camera then to the next session, and I make sure that I'm within the parameters of the old photo, and I make another photo, and I make another photo, and I make another photo, and make another photo. So I'm going around. I have an average setting here. It is possible that some photos are going to be lighter than other ones, and that's why the next method is more secure. But I want just to show you how simple it can be, right? So here we go. And my focus is constant on the horizon, so that's at least the same. Here we go, this photo one. I have that little boat I have in the right corner, so I move to and put the boat in the left corner. Whoa, there we go. And this rock is in that corner, and I move to the other one. Well, there's my camera. There we go. So now I have 3 photos. And in the software later on, I'm going to stitch them together. And for example, in Lightroom, but also in the other ones, you can process in Panorama, and then it will stitch together. And the AI, the artificial intelligence in the software, will find where does it match. Now we have a little issue. We have water here, and water moves, so that's not the same. So we call that the ghost factor. So when you see that in your Lightroom or in your other software, you can allow an amount of ghost. That means it's not the same, it looks the same, but it's different, like what water does, but also leaves that are moving, for example. And if you push that up a little bit, you have more room, and it will stitch together a lot easier. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that, and then stitch together. So now I'm going to show you the other method. So this is another setup. This is with pretty much like a 24mm wide angle lens. I'm going to show you 2 types of Panorama Shots. I just showed you one, which was just globally one photo, another one, and then stitch it together in software. The other one, what we can do is be a little bit more precise. Make sure you get more dark tones and more lights, and then melt them together. So what I do, and this is a bit more complicated, I'm going for one setting, and with my dial, I'll dial -4. So if you have an ideal setting, for example, now I do have an ideal setting. It's 160 f22, everything is in balance. According to the camera, it's a safe light setting. But if I dial here, I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. So I have 4 steps. So that's 4 steps underexposed. So I make a photo underexposed, 1. Then I go back from 4 to 2, 1, 2. I make another photo. I do it another time, 1, 2. Now I'm in the ideal light position. And I'm going to take 2 and then another 2 overexposed. So here I'm going to do that. 1, 2, click. 1, 2, click. 1, 2, click. So what I have done now is I have a wide range of photos of the same angle, and if I stitch them together, I have all the darks that I can see and all the lights. And what is too light, it will take away. What is too dark, it will take away, but it takes the best of everything in there. So basically 4, 2, 0, 2, 4. I have 5 photos now that I'm going to stitch together. But then there comes the next one. This was just one day of the panorama. I can go now from my setting, and the angle is about there. So I'm going to move the camera, and I got it horizontal, and this is going to be my next picture. And I do the same process again. So I have 5 photos, compressed one, another 5 photos, another 5 photos, and another 5 photos. And in this way, if there's more shadow over there and you photograph more against the light over there, you have a compensation. Basically, you compensate constantly with enough material. Underexposed, overexposed, and everything in between. Underexposed, overexposed, everything in between. Underexposed, overexposed, everything in between, and then the last shot. Sometimes you can do it with 3 sessions, sometimes you do it with 5 sessions, but you could do also a panorama of 180. I mean, then you have everything. And then you're sure that when you finally stitch the images together, you don't miss anything. You can have the right balance of all the pictures. So I'm going to do that now. Whoops, make sure you stand right. And I'll do the same procedure again. So it takes a little while, but you'll have a higher quality images in the end. There we go. So 4 underexposed is indeed a very dark image. 2, again, 1, 2, and now up on 0. You know, you have this little metering thing in your camera that says, oh, it's perfectly exposed. And then that image is there, and up there. And 2 overexposed, 4 overexposed. And now I look at the image. I look at the cloud. It's about there. And now I'm going to move my camera again to the next angle. Okay, here we go. Another 4 underexposed, 2 underexposed, 0, so that's in the middle, 2 overexposed, and 4 overexposed. And with 2 and 4 I mean clicks, just small clicks. It's not that you go from 2.8 to 4 to 5.6 to 8. No, it's Hdr clicks. So they're smaller in fraction, right? Okay, I've done that job. I look at where does my horizon end, that cloud. I'm gonna do it over there, and I'm gonna take this one. So in the end, I will have now a beautiful panorama. Here we go, 4 underexposed, 2 clicks underexposed, 0, 2 overexposed. I'm repeating myself here, but it's important to understand. So with the 4 overexposed, I make sure I have shades. The shades also. The shades are not very dark because I have light against coming to my camera. I make sure that I have all the information available. Your eye sees it, but your camera makes a distinction between it. So the image you will see is one of 1, 2, 3, 4 times 5 images compressed to one, and then as a panorama. And you can, these are the ones that you can print well. What you have to take in your mind is your focus. Make sure that it's not on out of focus, because it might focus on the water here and the next picture on the boat over there. So I put them all on the horizon. And just in this way you make sure that everything in the far distance is sharp. Now this is water and not a typical landscape, so water. So I will have a lot of water that is probably moving, because in one picture and the other picture and the other picture we're all different, never the same. So we'll see what comes out of there. Maybe you get a little bit of a blurry waterfront, but it doesn't matter. You can come back when the water is still and there's no wind, or you can say it doesn't matter that it's blurring, because the image is in itself good. So another thing that you can do when you do landscape photography, and I don't have them, but you can buy filters. It's got to be good quality filters. They make sure they are lowering the amount of light that comes into your camera. Now, what you can do with that is you put them on your camera, and you have them in 3 stops, 6 stops, 9 stops, 12 stops, kind of. Every factory is a little bit different. But basically what they do, it's just as if they turn the light switch lower and lower. So it allows of less light in. So if you are at a river, for example, or here with the water, and you want to have, or to see the waves that come rolling in, and you don't want to have a sharp image of the waves rolling in, but more the movement itself, then you can capture that on your camera. And you do that with these filters, you put them on, and then you can have a longer shutter time. Like, for example, maybe 1 second, for example. If I would do 1 second now on a bright day like this, I always have an exposed image. Even if I put my camera on let's say f/22 and 100 ISO, you know, I try to squeeze. I don't want to have enough light in there, but the day is too bright. So what you do is basically you make it from day with the filter to like almost evening or night, and then you can play with your images. Now I don't have them here. It's really interesting to find that out, because especially with things that are moving, leaves, water, even traffic, people, you can play incredibly with motions and with movement. All right, so coming back to the subject with this camera, if I want to have, for example, a landscape photo here, and I don't want to do this whole thing between 5 shots here, 5 shots there, 5 and that. I also have a little button that says HDR, and that's very inconvenient because now the camera does it itself. I already talked about it by the first shot. So what I'm going to do is I make sure that my composition is good. Okay, I love this composition. The focus is on the background. I see the hazy mountains there. Now this camera is basically doing what I did just before. I will have 3 shots, but I can also have 5 shots and I can also have 7 shots. And then they go from underexposed all the way to overexposed. And they put it together, and your megabyte in your final image will be higher because you basically put 3 photos in one. So I'm going to do that, and then we see it on the screen. Here we go. So if I would check it right now on my camera, I would have one underexposed image, kind of dark. Then I have a medium exposed, kind of pretty good, and an overexposed is too light. But combined, all these things together will give you quite a good information and shot. So I'm going to turn it around and do one to that side. And then I will give you guys a moment a break so you can see the images. Alright, here we go. And I have it on HDR. I push one time and it does click, 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 and it has done 3 images. And I can put it into 7 images. So maybe I can just HDR. I have it on 3, 5. I do it in 7 images. So the next image is 7 images. See if we can change that. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. So the first image was really dark and the last image was totally overexposed. But it got the information. Enough to compress. And I have it on the shutter speed on 250, f22, and then an ISO about 200 kind of. So all right. So this was all about panoramas that you can do. Probably you have to watch it again because it's a little technical, but if you try it out, and you have to try it out, you have to fail a couple of times, and then you will see that it will benefit you a lot when you want to do landscapes. I mean, if you have beautiful mountains and everything, and you want to make sure you can have a good large size print and everything is really in detail, absolutely fantastic. So just a little bit of a side step here. We're in landscape. I see the landscape right in front of me. I love the boulders. There's a lot of shadow and light going on. So you know what? I'm going to put the camera on black and white, and just going to make a few shots of what's going on here. And these are going to be a bit more, you know, detailed, abstract. So let me look through here. All right. I gotta make sure that I'm out of my shadow. All right, let me have a look if that's good. All right. Okay. It's beautiful. It's all kind of black and white, light and dark. Very nice. A few more here. There's a lot of texture going on in these images because you see the texture of the stones and then the shadow and light. It's quite amazing, actually. This is all his lines. Gorgeous. It's also close by. I mean, basically, if you really focus with your camera on things, you will always see things. Normally in the routine of the day you walk past it, but if you take time for it, you see beautiful things. super abstract. What you see is just the dark lines, the light lines, and then the shadow of the leaves. It's actually perfect. Even the leaves. So for all the people who are living in this Collingwood Blue Mountain area and Wasaga Beach, this is a camera that you can borrow from the libraries. It's a fantastic camera. Everything that I did I did in the previous sessions, you can do with this camera, and so you have quality to exercise, even the tripod and other stuff. So don't forget that. So a little wrap up from today. Landscape photography, you can make plain photos, one photo and that's it. You can stitch them together through simple making different shots. If that's because of the light is too much of a challenge, you can play with the exposure, underexposure, overexposure, several photos on one shot, and then the other one the same, the other one the same, and then they put everything together. We're now in a moving sea, but if you're at the mountains or a field or another landscape, you can go wild. You can do whatever you want. It forces you to seek for beauty in the landscape. There's a lot around here. There's a lot around in Canada anyway. So it's a fantastic way to observe and to have in the long cold winters beautiful images of the landscapes that you love. Landscape, there's several layers to it. This was one basically. We will continue with exterior photography in the coming month, in August, and show you some more techniques and tricks along the way. Basically, I hope that you have enjoyed this series. It was just me in action. How would I do it? You would do it maybe different, but we can learn from each other and can start upgrading our level in photography. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you the next episode. Cheers, bye.